Well, here's the stage for today's intrigue, 175.5 kilometres, setting out from Bourg-Saint-Maurice and featuring two other super category climbs before the final one. The Col de la Madeleine is first, and after a picturesque interlude on the Lacet de Montvernier, the Col de la Croix de Fer is second. Then there'll be just the 21 hairpins and the weight of humanity on the Alpe for the riders to negotiate. 161 men at the start this morning. Mark Renshaw, Marcel Kittel and Mark Cavendish came in outside the time limit yesterday, and overnight Rigoberto Urán gave in to the injuries he sustained on stage 9 and abandoned. Now, like yesterday, the breakaway when it formed was large and talented. Among the initial 30-odd were 6 of the top 20. Pierre Latour, the best young rider, was there. Ilnur Zakarin, Pierre Rolland with his team leader Rigoberto Urán no longer in the race. Alejandro Valverde and Mikel Nieve from yesterday's break. Warren Barguil and Julian Alaphilippe too looking for mountain points. But the most intriguing member was Steven Kruijswijk, 6th overall at the start of the day, 2 minutes 40 behind Geraint Thomas. Now, Julian Alaphilippe was first at the summit of the Col de la Madeleine to extend his King of the Mountains lead. And then it was on to the second climb of the day on the elegantly draped laces of Montvernier. Pierre Rolland took the points there, Alaphilippe having fallen back. Quite a few men, meanwhile, were climbing off. Tony Galopin of AG2R, so Romain Bardet down to 4 teammates now. Rick Zabel, who was reprieved by the commissaires yesterday after coming in 5 seconds outside the time limit. And 3 more major sprinters. Fernando Gaviria, winner of stages 1 and 4. Dylan Groenewegen, winner of stages 7 and 8. And Andre Greipel, winner of 8 stages in his 8 tours and failing to finish one for the first time. Now, by staying with the leaders as the large group split up, Steven Kruijswijk built up a big enough lead to make him the race leader on the road. And with 73 kilometres to go, he set off on his own. By the top of the Col de la Croix de Fer, he wasn't just the virtual yellow jersey, he had it by over 3 minutes with a lead over the main field of 6:05. And the main field was getting smaller and smaller as all the contenders' teams, Sky included, burned through their support riders. Kruijswijk turned onto the Alpe with a lead of 4 minutes 19, a cushion of 1:39 over Thomas in the race for the race lead. Thomas and Froome have 3 teammates left as they approach the final 13.8 kilometres.
Looks pretty measured, doesn't it, David? He's not going too deep and he looks in control at this point, but it's a long, long way to the top.
Yeah, I mean, the effort he's riding is an effort to take him to the finish line, unlike the domestics behind who are just trying to get as close as they can to him before pulling off and doing their peel-offs. But it's going to be 2 very different races in that respect. Behind, we're going to see some explosive racing from this yellow jersey group, whereas for Kruijswijk, it's very much going to be, as you said, a measured time trial-like affair.
The big lead out to the climb, being orchestrated by Jonathan Castroviejo. How much more has he got to give? Then Michał Kwiatkowski, then Egan Bernal. What a job he has, the young Colombian, to hold on to the yellow jersey of Geraint Thomas, to protect Chris Froome and Thomas potentially from all the attacks that surely are about to come from the likes of Romain Bardet and from Nairo Quintana and all the other favourites, with a couple of exceptions there, lined out on the wheel of Team Sky. They now hit the climb. Steven Kruijswijk, and well, that's it for Castroviejo. As you predicted, David Miller, his job is done.
Yeah, he had in his head that was it. He just had to take Kwiatkowski's not got much longer either. You can see that face. We know it well now, and I doubt he'll last very much long, which is going to be such a big job for Bernal.
Look at the domestiques just falling away straight away. That's Rafa Maiku, who's in the breakaway. Mikel Nieve isn't going to be winning today. Lawrence Tendam from Sunweb is gone. So too is Andre Amador from Movistar.
Yeah.
Oh, Kwiatkowski's going deep again here.
Yeah, you can see it. But this is good for Kruijswijk, because it means that the speed is a little bit limited at the moment, because no doubt Team Sky will want to keep him for as long as possible, so they'll be telling him just stay at your rhythm. And that means that we can see it's 3:55, but that's still a significant gap.
We're on the Dutch mountain, don't forget. The Team Lotto and El Jumbo fans, as well as all those spectators carrying the national colours here, they'll have been following this race all afternoon. They will know that Steven Kruijswijk has attacked the race. They will know of the advantage he took over the Croix de Fer. They'll know that he will hit the foot of the mountain on his own, and they will be willing him to victory on the Dutch mountain. You couldn't write the script better than the one that is unfolding on the mountain today.
Egan Bernal, youngest rider in the race, first Tour de France, and here he's leading the yellow jersey up Alpe d'Huez. I mean, it's phenomenal.
And he's looking very composed, isn't he, Bernal? Very, very focused, totally in control of his effort at the moment. Thinking about the time gaps, holding steady at the moment, so Bernal matching Kruijswijk, but no more than that, not eating into Kruijswijk's advantage at this point. He can't go too deep. He doesn't want to put anyone into difficulty on his wheel, but more than that, he doesn't want to put himself into difficulty so that he's of no great service ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to measure this effort to make it last as long as possible. And we can see that because the group's slightly spread across the road, although there are riders being spat out.
Yep.
But the leaders are all there. Bob
Zachary.
Young is still hanging on just. Yeah, so it's just down to Mikel Landa and Nairo Quintana for Movistar in that group. I think they're all going to wait until Egan Bernal's used up, but they've got to be careful because they might find themselves in the same situation as yesterday. The moment that Team Sky run out of domestiques, one of the leaders attacks. Obviously, this time you would expect it to be Chris Froome to then allow Geraint Thomas to mark the moves from behind and sit on the wheels. But at the moment, he's looking good again, but he's bringing back that time as well significantly.
Oh, he's setting a phenomenal pace now, and it's the damage being done at the back of that elite group of riders is a symptom of the fact that Bernal is absolutely eating into Kruijswijk's advantage. 2:57 in the blink of an eye, and coming down all the time. Oh, that's an extraordinary ride by Bernal.
Yeah, he's looking extremely good and in control. So I think he's basically being controlled by Geraint and Chris Froome behind him, who are just letting him know what pace to hold.
Well, Geraint Thomas at this point, and just so quickly, is back in the virtual yellow jersey standings. And Bernal continuing to set a pace that can only be explained, I think, by a combination of his brilliant ride and also Steven Kruijswijk's legs may just be beginning to fall off. Steven Kruijswijk looks like he has pulled the handbrake and can hold this pace no longer. Nor can Alejandro Valverde at the back of the group, but Steven Kruijswijk is losing time hand over fist as this group of favourites being headed by Egan Bernal start to eat into his advantage, take chunks out of it. Pierre Latour just thrashing the bike around. And, well, they've adjusted the times, but I thought it was coming down too fast. So steady as you go. Unfortunately, when he's out of sight, it's the only information we have on our screens. But that has restored the natural order of things. So Bernal is still doing a great ride, but it's nibbling away at the advantage of Steven Kruijswijk rather than taking those big chunks.
Dan Martin just losing the wheel there. That's not a good sign. I mean, yep, he's losing. We've seen this happen before. Dan Martin comes back on, but at this point, there's still a long way to go for him to be in difficulty.
Another bottle from another helper by the side of the road. Just takes a smaller sip and then discards the extra weight. Every gram matters here, every pedal stroke matters. Every 100 metres that he ticks off matters. And that's another one gone, 9.7k to go. 3:19 is Dan Martin on the first weaker day for Martin so far on the Tour de France. He's looked in wonderful form, but at the moment he's just a little bit removed from that group of favourites and perhaps feeling a little bit the effort that he put into yesterday's stage in that attack.
Oh, the effort he's put into every stage. He seems to have been there attacking always. And this looks like this could be his bad day of the Tour. Nibali's attacking.
On the left-hand side of the road, there he goes. A long way out. About 11 Ks, probably, from the finish line. Vincenzo Nibali goes now. Nibali is in 4th place in the general classification, 2:14 down on the yellow jersey. So he's around about, 50 seconds down on Chris Froome's time.
He's got the gap, and that's the hardest thing to do at this point in the race. But now we're going to really see what Egan Bernal can do. What this Super Colombian, whether he can control this and bring it back. And he is he's got a level pegged at the moment. And I guess if he is going to bring it back, he'll bring it back slowly because he won't want to put Chris Froome or Geraint Thomas in the red during the process. But he does look amazingly in control still.
Jakob Fuglsang still there. So too is Primoz Roglic, Romain Bardet, Mikel Landa, Nairo Quintana, Tom Dumoulin, and then the Sky duo of Thomas and Froome and Egan Bernal, the only domestique left in the race, with Vincenzo Nibali just holding a tiny advantage over the Colombian.
Yeah, they seem to be just matching each other pedal stroke for pedal stroke at the moment. Bernal and Nibali, although did look there that Bernal was just about to close it a bit more, maybe making the decision that that now, but you've got to be careful, can't bring it back too quickly and blow himself up and then be counter-attacked. Remember, the most important thing for Egan Bernal now is to go long, and if that means just leaving Nibali out there for a while and then deterring attacks by keeping the pace so high, and Nibali now has pulled off to the left and is just going to slot himself back in.
2:56 now between Kruijswijk and this group, so he is beginning to lose time again. Needs to be a little bit cautious with those time gaps. But that would make sense. 8.8k to go. 2:55 Kruijswijk's advantage. He is seeing the chance of a yellow jersey, I think probably eluding. Nairo Quintana goes, and it's another long-range attack, just like Vincenzo Nibali. But I think we expect more from Quintana than we did from Vincenzo Nibali. He, just like Nibali, has got 4 or 5 bike lengths, but no more. And Bernal has to respond to his senior compatriot now. A Colombian against a Colombian, with a Colombian fan in between them on the road.
Wow, this is incredible from Egan Bernal. He seems to have that completely under control as well. There's no panic. He's riding like a racer, much more experienced than his younger years.
2:43 the advantage for Kruijswijk in the meantime. Quintana against Bernal, against Team Sky, and against the rest of the race. How does he look? It's not an explosive acceleration, but if he starts to weaken Bernal and that chase stalls, no evidence of that whatsoever, he might just be able to ride away. It's an agonising gap for Bernal to close, and it still is just about there for Quintana's attack.
In a way, these attacks are quite good for Bernal, because he can just then sit it and peg it to their pace. And otherwise, you sit there the whole time doubting whether you're going the right speed or who's going to attack next. Now that they're sitting there, he knows what they can do, and the best thing for him is just to leave Nairo Quintana there. Just let him sit there as long as he can and just use him as bait, if you like.
Information now suggesting that Thomas is the virtual yellow jersey, as the time gap continues to drop for Steven Kruijswijk. And Bernal has brought back Vincenzo Nibali and Nairo Quintana. That's phenomenal.
There you go, Dutch approaching the madness of the Dutch area.
Through a pocket of Czech support, as Romain Bardet accelerates on the left-hand side of the road, reacting to a move, this time not by Nairo Quintana, but by Mikel Landa. So this is the third big attack that Egan Bernal is expected to respond to. Can he do it a third time? And this is a double attack as well from a very fresh-looking Romain Bardet and Mikel Landa.
And again, Egan Bernal just sits there, just holds them there. This is a big move. It's good to see that Movistar are actually using their numbers. Now let's see what Romain Bardet can do. So it's, as he jumped off, he's counter-attacked Mikel Landa.
Well, all in now for Romain Bardet. He shouldn't look back. He doesn't need Mikel Landa. Landa's not able to hold the pace of the young Frenchman. Bardet started the day 8th place in the general classification, 2:58 down on Geraint Thomas. And instantly, look at the time gap between the yellow jersey group and trying to respond to Bardet's attack and Kruijswijk, and it's coming down now 1:44, if that's to be believed. And Bardet he's the first rider really to get away from that group.
Yes, he is. I mean, that's been the first. He was perfect timing in the fact he used Landa to almost get him out of there on the wheel, and then counter-attacked him. But Mikel Landa not looking so good. I think he was more doing that out of duty than anything else to counter-attack after Nairo Quintana, and it's Romain Bardet that's benefited off that.
Still it's Bernal on the front. Still he looks in control, composed. But that attack, that particular attack from Bardet, proved too much for him just to neutralise in the first instance, but still he's doing a very good job just holding on to the time gap.
Chris Froome looking still very in control. The only one with his jersey still completely done up. Look at that, everyone else is all ripped open trying to get air in, and he still remains that jersey done up right up to the neck.
6.6k to go. Kruijswijk has 1:33 to defend against this group, but he has a rampaging Romain Bardet somewhere off the front of the yellow jersey group and flying up the mountain to contend with. Quintana, I'm hearing, has been dropped. In fact, there he is. Nairo Quintana has dropped away from that group of favourites. An attack from Quintana that came to nothing, and this time the Colombian is in distress, and he is definitely out of contention for today, and seeing the race go away from him. So Egan Bernal has effectively dropped Nairo Quintana.
Yeah, there's only 5 riders left in the race, if you like, outside of the Team Sky riders there. And of course this, the 6th Kreuzvik up the road. So Egan Bernal is doing a phenomenal job.
He is. The flag of Belgium being waved in the face of a Dutchman now. Steven Kruijswijk's got around about 2 minutes to the yellow jersey group, and a little bit less to Romain Bardet, who's out of the saddle.
Romain Bardet, is just holding there now. It's not extending it, but that's no mean feat, because we can see the damage that's been done to that group behind. And it really is. Egan Bernal just... all he needs to do is keep Bardet there. He's no threat on GC. He's quite a way down. So this is working out well.
Well, a couple of fans there, including a supporter of the French team, just getting in the way of Kruijswijk. He's through the real throng of Dutch fans now. That's where Romain Bardet is, and that's where Team Sky are, and Egan Bernal right through the village of Uez now, in the real thick and the midst of the fans. I have to say, there is a lot of security and a lot of police on this mountain today, and it looks like they have the situation, at least for now, mostly under control. As flags, just a Portuguese flag this time, just waved in the face of the Frenchman, who's getting away from this group bit by bit, but he's eking out his advantage in painful pedal strokes. That's perhaps the biggest surprise on the mountain today, the biggest casualty, the biggest name casualty, Quintana, losing contact with the group of favourites, and he'll be losing time, more time than he can afford in the general classification. Stretching his advantage, is he? A little bit. Maybe that's more like a 10-12 second gap, and stepping out and stepping on his pedals again and out of the saddle and trying to push on.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's just at their threshold at the moment. But I think Bernal can go much faster, Bardet can't. So they are at the absolute limit now, and it's just holding. And if it is going to go out, which does seem a little bit, it's just going to be a metre at a time, if you like. It's not going to be any big chunks taken out now.
So the mystery remains, where is Egan Bernal's finish line here? How deep into this climb can he go? What a wonderful job he's done. And what an important job he's done as well, before almost inevitably it will happen. Thomas and Froome are exposed to the rest of the group of favourites, but they haven't got Quintana to deal with any longer. They've got a Vincenzo Nibali who's tried it once, and it came to nothing. Roglic could be a threat. Landa has looked slightly powerless to do anything off the Team Sky pace, but Dumoulin is still hanging there or thereabouts.
Oh, and as Kreuzvik now, you can feel it with him. It's being such a massive attack, and he'll know they're coming up from behind, and this doesn't get any easier for him. Bardet looking in control. I mean, it's looking like he's kind of got into that sort of time trial sort of mode, if you like, just switched on, focused, breathing hard. He's got that kind of look in his eye as well. So I think he's got an effort that he can. He's not going to crack Bardet, and look, he seems to be extending just a little bit that lead.
Well, he's only 270 metres on the roads. I say only, but that's a long way when you've got gradients like you have on Alpe d'Huez. Behind Steven Kruijswijk, whose advantage is shrinking now, probably to under a minute to Romain Bardet. 7
riders left in this group, and 3 of them are Team Sky. Bernal's winding it up a little bit.
Is Chris Froome going to be content to hold Thomas's wheel and ride with Thomas all the way to the finish, or is Chris Froome going to make a point here on Alpe d'Huez? He is very, very close to the front of the race now. Bardet is in between Kruijswijk and the yellow jersey group, but it's all coming together somewhat, and they now have 5 kilometres to go. Still think that might be slightly more than a minute's gap. I don't totally trust those time gaps that we're seeing on the screen. Dumoulin still looking quite fresh. Bardet is now out of sight, and Egan Bernal is still on the front.
Looks like Bernal's setting up something here, because he's going digging deeper, so whether it's just winding up, getting ready for an attack of one of his team leaders, because he hasn't got that sim done now.
Just a suggestion there that he's done, I think, but that's it for Bernal. So now is what he's going to unfold.
And it was a Geraint Thomas looked like he was accelerating.
It did a bit, yeah, and perhaps he opened just a little bit of a gap on Chris Froome, but now we have the yellow jersey on the front. Then Chris Froome, then Vincenzo Nibali and Roglic. So no domestiques left, unless you count the yellow jersey of Geraint Thomas as a domestique in this situation.
This is an interesting ride by Geraint Thomas, because he looks like he's going pretty deep there. He doesn't necessarily have to. It's almost looks like he's riding for Chris Froome now.
It does. reminiscent of the 2011 Vuelta a España, where Chris Froome himself was in the red leader's jersey of the Vuelta a España, riding for Brad Wiggins. Now we see another Grand Tour leader in the yellow jersey. Geraint Thomas really leading out Chris Froome on this mountain and leading him across to Romain Bardet and about to snuff out Bardet's attack.
Well, this is amazing. If that's the case, if we're seeing Geraint Thomas riding for Chris Froome here, that's phenomenal. Discipline and you know, just confidence in Chris Froome.
Now he risks a glance over and he'll see the leader of the Tour de France and Chris Froome on his wheel, and that is an intimidating sight. And in the meantime, Steven Kruijswijk is still holding on to a 44-second advantage, but he's still got 4.2 kilometres to go. All over the mountain, the time gaps are shrinking, and with merciless precision, it is honing in on the finish line, and the feeling grows that it might be heartbreak for Steven Kruijswijk, and that any minute now there might be an attack from Chris Froome off the yellow jersey. That's a little glimpse that we caught just now. What's happening further back down the road? There's Bardet still in second place on the road. A load of motorbikes in between him and a yellow jersey group that is now headed by Chris Froome on the offensive, with Dumoulin trying to get on the wheel.
He's stuck in the motorbikes. There's a gendarme in the way. He had to slow down his attack.
Oh no. Nibali has gone down somehow.
So
I didn't see where. It might be the motorbike. There were a lot of bikes in contact with the yellow jersey group there. So Nibali a casualty. Bardet trying to get on Chris Froome's wheel. The yellow jersey of Geraint Thomas is still there, but he's in the company once again, as he was yesterday, of Tom Dumoulin. No sign of Primoz Roglic there or of Mikel Landa. They have been dropped.
Well, that was chaos. I don't know what happened there. It was the pinch in the road where Chris Froome, Bardet can't hold the wheel. So here we go. So now we're seeing Chris Froome at his best, and this is what we're so familiar at seeing.
Well, the feeling was that Chris Froome would want to make a statement on a mountain that has so far proved unhappy hunting ground for Chris Froome. This is the first sign, really, that statement is about to be pronounced. There is the glimpse of Chris Froome, and he actually takes a moment to have a little drink as he locks on. You can see Steven Kruijswijk. He is within touching distance of the front of the race now.
Well, Dumoulin, this is a phenomenal ride. Look, he's not necessarily losing much time. He's got it under control at the pier, because Dumoulin, he knows how to do this. He does it over and over again, not being a pure climber. He has to time his effort to perfection. Kruijswijk will see this. He'll know what's happening, and it's all over for him, but it's been a great ride.
And he'll know now, and yet that just slump in his body language for the first time suggests that defeat is imminent, and Kruijswijk having done the ride of his life. It was brilliant. It's been a long time since we've seen that on the Tour de France. A long-range attack from a real player like Kruijswijk. Can he dig in and just hold on to these gains he might be making in the general classification? But wearily, he will have to accept that the big win on Alpe d'Huez that he might have dreamed of and that came so close to is over. But Dumoulin is digging in, and he's bringing, fascinatingly, the yellow jersey back into contention on this climb.
And that could be an opportunity for Geraint Thomas to counter-attack. But it's Chris Froome who's not really distancing up, because Bardet seems to have recovered his back on yellow jersey, so it's actually Chris Froome who's not accelerating. Dumoulin, this is an amazing ride, and this is the big concern for Team Sky. Dumoulin, he is the world time trial champion. If they can't lose him here, this is going to be a big concern, because in the big mountain stages to come, he's the man that they need to lose before that final time trial.
And Dumoulin now tries to attack Thomas. He's trying to lose Thomas and get rid of him, but all the while Thomas just glues to that wheel, and Dumoulin is getting across to Chris Froome, step by step, pedal stroke by pedal stroke. The yellow jersey is coming back into play, and the race will reboot as Steven Kruijswijk loses contact with that group. He's in 5th place on the road now, and he might lose further places to Mikel Landa and to his teammate Primoz Roglic. Those two riders will surely get together, but Dumoulin has brought Geraint Thomas back to Chris Froome and Romain Bardet, and we've got 4 of the very best on the Tour de France as one, with 3 kilometres of this climb still to go. Nibali, who came to blows with think a motorbike and hit the deck, well, his race effectively ended there, and he's just soloing up the mountain in around about 7th or 8th position on the mountain.
Yeah, we'll find out later, but it looks like when Chris Froome's attack happened, it was where the pinch in the road, where the barriers suddenly came to the fore, and I think the motorbikes and everything all got congested, and that's what caused it.
If they carry on like this, some other riders from further down the mountain might just come back into contention as well. I don't think Landa's too far behind this group. There he is, Mikel Landa digging in. Primoz Roglic, I think, is somewhere in between well, with Landa and this group, I think Primoz Roglic is not too far behind either.
Well, probably the rider here with most to gain on GC, obviously, is Romain Bardet. So we'll see, look, they're just shaking his head, Tom Dumoulin. It's, I wonder if the race, they're neutralising slightly because they realise they've got nothing to gain right now. They'd rather all try and race the stage run. I doubt they're waiting for Nibali. That seems a bit too friendly at this point in the race because I'm not even sure what they know, if they know what happened. But it's certainly, this is like a track race.
Or just ride 5 abreast. Then there goes Froome. Froome reacting to another attack by Romain Bardet, who gets away again. And Froome now leads Dumoulin on his wheel and Thomas. So Froome doing the work on the front to try and shut down Romain Bardet, interestingly. So a reversal of the roles that we saw from Thomas and Froome. And Thomas is equal now, as he was before, to Dumoulin's racing. And Dumoulin is holding onto the wheel of Chris Froome. And Landa put into difficulties. He'd only just made contact with that group of 4 and he finds himself off the back again. But Bardet has the front of the race.
Primoz Roglic and Vincenzo Nibali slowly chipping his way back, but it's going to be nigh on impossible to get back to the front after that. Not in this point in the race. Chris Froome finally cracking Dumoulin slightly, but it's look, they're so evenly matched, these 4 riders.
And Dumoulin, once again, is just pegging back that attack by Chris Froome and getting back onto his wheel, and actually has shut that down pretty quickly. So Dumoulin's done another huge turn there, and Thomas has benefited from him. And so have Team Sky, with both their players still in contention here. And now Froome shuts down Bardet, and Dumoulin goes. Now who's going to be able to go with the Dutchman? Maybe a Dutchman will win after all on Alpe d'Huez, just not the one we thought. Dumoulin, a big acceleration, 2.2k to go. Thomas reacts, Froome battling to stay in contention now, and Bardet as well put into difficulties by this big attack by Dumoulin. There's the gap, and can Froome do anything about that, or is Thomas once again going to reinforce his yellow jersey and make further gains on the notional team leader of Team Sky, Chris Froome? An astonishing race up Alpe d'Huez here is developing. 2k to go. Most of the steep climbing is done. This is Nibali and Roglic. They're further up the road. So they, at the front of the race, are going to find about 100 metres of little descent. Then they'll go into a tunnel fairly soon as those 4 come back together again. But Dumoulin and Thomas, at this point, well, it's hard to say who looks the strongest. They are all just punching each other as hard as they can on this climb. And no one has yet delivered a knockout blow.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be careful because they'll all know the turn of speed that Geraint Thomas has. He showed it yesterday. He showed it in Dauphiné. So will he do that? But Chris Froome does look like he's slightly in difficulty, but he had reacted to Romain Bardet. So perhaps that counter-attack from Dumoulin, who rode a very smart race there, he chose a perfect moment. So that might be disguising a little bit just how bad Chris Froome is.
There's Nairo Quintana just digging in, and he's got Steven Kruijswijk to work with as a carrot to try and get across to. Then further up the road, his teammate, Kruijswijk's teammate, Roglic, just sitting on the wheel of Vincenzo Nibali. Bardet just zipping up, getting ready to finesse a sprint, because it is going to come down to a sprint. Just 1.5 kilometres to go. Dumoulin on the front. Thomas glances over his shoulder, sees that Bardet and Froome are both there.
Dumoulin is looking very strong at the moment. I mean, dare I say, he's almost looking the strongest, and we know he's such a controlled rider in these situations, and the fact he is the person who seems to be the strongest means something, because normally he's on the back foot at this point.
What are Team Sky hearing in their earpieces at this point, David? No team orders, they're all there.
Yeah, I mean, this
each man for himself at this point, surely.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to ride this tactically in the sprint. It's a very hard sprint. Let's not forget it's an uphill sprint, so it's going to be on legs. And with the 4 of them, you can almost imagine the 4 of them going side by side going for this.
Alpe d'Huez has staged many dramatic finishes down its long history, ever since Fausto Coppi first won here in 1952. But I would hesitate to suggest that it has ever seen a battle like this, with 4 of the favourites, 5 of the favourites, because Mikel Landa has got back on for the overall victory of the Tour de France, as one with 1 kilometre to go.
1 kilometre and a tailwind, so this is something they're going to be evenly matched, and none of them are really going to know how to ride this. It's going to be on strength. There's going to be very little tactics. Dumoulin would probably be my favourite, but then again, Geraint Thomas is so fast, and Romain Bardet and Chris Froome, so the 4 of them are going to be just, they don't know who to follow, I don't think.
Quintana threatening Steven Kruijswijk's top 10 position on the stage, desperately wants to hold on to that. And look at the cat and mouse, and Vincenzo Nibali and Roglic are there. Landa goes early, and Thomas reacts to that move, and so too does Dumoulin. Froome as well in contention, and Bardet too. So that attack hasn't broken the elastic for Landa. He is the first to show his hand, and Thomas the sharpest in terms of reacting.
Yeah, here we go. Now, Dumoulin's in a pretty good spot, but let's not go. This is a normal sprint. It's uphill. Chris Froome looking good. I wonder if Geraint is going to try and lead out Chris Froome. He's in prime position to do that, but it's Bardet sitting in a good spot. Let's see what Dumoulin can do. Dumoulin's happy with his position. He's not moved up. He feels that's the right place to be. Now, is Geraint Thomas going to lead out Chris Froome? That seems like it could be what's going to happen.
Well, Thomas finds himself on the front now, and Landa alongside him, and Thomas opens up his sprint, and Thomas is distancing Chris Froome. That's not a lead-out, that is a sprint for victory. In the yellow jersey, could it be back-to-back wins for Geraint Thomas? In a big gear, only Dumoulin is getting onto terms with him, but the gap is too big, and Thomas is going to win an Alpe d'Huez in the yellow jersey, in style, and the question marks with Team Sky and this extraordinary Tour de France go on and on and on. Landa crosses, and now Primož Roglic shaking his head. It didn't come to anything in the end for that team, except for the respect of the whole race. Roglic finishes well, Nibali coming to the line, Jakob Fuglsang, and listen to the ovation if we get a shot of Steven Kruijswijk when he gets to the top. But that was, I think, by far the most interesting race we have ever seen on the top of this mountain. Nairo Quintana disappointing once again and picking up the minor placings and sustaining further losses, and this time on Alpe d'Huez on an absolute showpiece finale. And look at Steven Kruijswijk. Let's see Steven Kruijswijk coming to the line, and he has held on. He was dreaming of glory, but that was one of the great long-range attacks in recent Tour de France history, and Kruijswijk is still a contender on that kind of form.
As is, it goes without saying, Geraint Thomas in this sort of form. He was either channeling Churchill or obliging the photographers as he warmed down, signalling his two-stage wins in as many days. The second more impressive than the first. Here's the result. He had 2 clear seconds on the line over Dumoulin, plus his 10 for the win. Dumoulin picked up 6 and Romain Bardet 4 ahead of Chris Froome, who was 4 seconds down in 4th, losing 14 seconds in total to his teammate. Mikel Landa was last out of the lead group of 5, Primož Roglic 6th. Vincenzo Nibali recovered from his crash to finish 7th. Jakob Fuglsang and Nairo Quintana lost more than 40 seconds. Steven Kruijswijk, after being out front for so long, finished 53 seconds behind Thomas.
Honestly, I'm speechless. Well, speechless. I don't know what to say. I was just not a chance in hell I thought I was going to win today. Like I was just followed Dumoulin, Bardet and Froome were attacking. Obviously, a bit of bad luck for Nibali. I rode over his back wheel, I nearly came down myself, but don't know what to say.
You just entered history a bit more.
Yeah, that's just unbelievable. Can we just go Paris now? I was just, I did say yesterday, like, look, anything, this race is made for me now, you know, and today, that's it. I can be happy for sure now.
And confident to maybe keep that jersey for a long time.
Yeah, maybe the next few days, but look, this race is so hard, and you never know how the body reacts, and like I said yesterday, I'm still riding for Froome. Froome's still the man. He's, like I said, he knows how to ride for 3 weeks. He's a, legend gets used way too much, but, he's probably the best ever. So I'm just going to enjoy this.
He's still in front.
Yeah, it's great. I just can't believe it. Alpe d'Huez, man. Yeah, it's just speechless.
Tom, for the second day in a row, you've had Geraint Thomas on your wheel. How frustrating was that not to be able to use your strength to bring you the stage win and greater success in the GC?
Yeah, I wanted to win. I think Thomas was slightly stronger than I was, but I definitely had a chance. But I made a mistake with when Landa attacked. I missed shift and I lost a few meters, and I was 5th going into the last corner, and that's too far. So then you don't win anymore if Thomas is that strong. So I would have needed to be on his wheel in order to have a chance, and now I didn't have a chance. So I'm disappointed.
The time limit was extended today for the second stage running, although Peter Sagan finished comfortably inside it, while most of his sprint rivals didn't survive the day to make it an issue. So here are the standings after stage 12. Geraint Thomas now leads Chris Froome by a minute 39. Froome leads Tom Dumoulin by 11 seconds. Nibali and Roglic remain 4th and 5th. Romain Bardet is up to 6th. The net result of all Steven Kruijswijk's hard work was to lose 2 places. He's 8th behind Mikel Landa. Nairo Quintana is now over 4 minutes down. Dan Martin over 5. Chris Froome, we presume, had something to offer at the doping wagon, but he had nothing for the waiting reporters outside. He was loudly booed up the final climb today, where one spectator tried, unfortunately failed to make his point physically. Vincenzo Nibali did go down on the final climb, apparently having been caught between a spectator and a motorbike. His initial scan at the finish suggested a fractured vertebra, and he headed off to hospital for confirmation that would put him out of the race. Geraint Thomas remains the one big name in the Tour to have had no major bad luck so far, but as he showed yesterday and underlined today, luck isn't why he's leading the race.
Geraint, congratulations. No British rider has ever won an Outdoors. No yellow jersey has ever won a road stage here. This is where history's made. You've made it today, G.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I just did not think that was going to happen, even on the climb. Froome felt good. Plan was for him to have a go, and for me just to try to follow and just follow Dumoulin, and I honestly can't believe it. I was even like, I knew around that last corner, sorry, we had to be first into that. I knew Froome was on my wheel, so I thought just go around and sprint out of it, and then if anyone's going to come around me, it'd be him. And then even with 50 meters to go, I was like, no way, is this actually happening? And I just can't believe it. It's just unreal.